Hey, everybody, and we are live with this week's episode of Hot Jobs, where the Hire Military team, today it's Tara and I, share the week's hottest jobs, internships, and career search advice with live Q&A. And so thank you for joining us today. If you are joining us, I'd like you to let us know where you're joining from. Give us the location where you're signing in from. It'd be nice to hear from you. If you are a job seeker, please let us know what jobs you are looking for and where you would like to do them. So we want to know the location and the type of job. And the idea is that we have a lot of thousands of people look at this quote unquote live session, and many of them are recruiters. And so by you letting us know what you're looking for and where, it can create opportunity with a minimal amount of effort. And lastly, I'd like to thank our partners at Heritage Roofing and Construction. Heritage, really focuses on culture out there in Central Texas, and they've built a great community where they are hiring veterans. They're actively looking for more veterans, and the roles that they have are account manager, project manager roles, where you actually go out to people that have been impacted by weather events or other type of events. You actually do an assessment. You provide that free of charge, and you can actually help them process the claim with the insurance companies, and even make sure the work gets done to their satisfaction. And so really, you're helping people in their time of need. And so if you're not a behind the desk person, this is a great opportunity in Central Texas with Heritage Roofing and Construction. You can always check them out on our Hire Military site right up here. All right. And then for the rest, I got a couple topics today that I'd like to talk about, but I want to give Tara the first go on topics. Tara, came up with a topic du jour.
I did.
And so I'm going to turn it over to you right now.
It's like when you're at a diner, the soup du jour is
Yeah.
soup of the day. Yeah, Mike. So this just came up really naturally. I was on LinkedIn today, going through some of our company page, and I, like everyone, get targeted ads. Right, that's all about being on a platform, and they were for job opportunities. As someone who manages our job board and our job pool and those things, I always look at job boards. I like to see how they're formatted. But today, I happen to get a bunch of job opportunities all in a row, all with the same title. All of them were listed as the VP of Operations. And as you can see, that is also my title here. And I was curious to see how these roles differed, even though they had all the exact same title. For people that tune in frequently, they know that we talk about being really specific in your job search. So we often kind of talk about the project manager or program manager title, and we will rebut when someone puts that in the comments and say, in what field? So as a little test today, I clicked on all of the opportunities that were labeled as VP of Operations, and I have copied and pasted the qualifications or requirements for each of these positions. And I'm purposely not paying attention to the company. I am strictly looking at the title. So I'm going to read these to you and to our listeners. So the first one listed the required qualifications as a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in healthcare administration, 7+ years of progressive healthcare operations leadership experience, ideally in an acute care hospital setting. Now they went on, but I'm going to stop there and move to the next one. Okay. The next one, also labeled VP of Operations, is a bachelor's degree in engineering and preferred chemical engineering degree or an MBA. 15 years of progressive leadership experience, including senior leadership of large multi-site or distributed teams. Demonstrate success in operational excellence, must have Lean Six Sigma or relevant certification. That's number 2. Number 3, again, VP of Operations, 3+ years of accounting experience, strong financial understanding of property financial statements, experience managing multiple entities, and experience with investor reporting were just a few of those requirements. So I think you and the audience can see that these are from A to Z. Mm-hmm. They're wildly different, but they are all VP of Operations. And I think, or I hope that this speaks to the listeners about, one, moving away from a singular job title.
Mhm.
and looking at the area in which you want to make an impact. Is it healthcare? Is it finance? Is it property? Is it chemical engineering? And then start to look at companies in that space, and then look at your experience on what your experience is and how it would impact the company and what types of areas they work in. So I hope that was helpful for people. You can certainly do your own little homework or own research. Maybe you're not the VP of operations. Maybe you are a manager. Again, just like a manager, associate, these are all really generic titles. But when when someone puts in the comments, hey, I want to work in project management, and we say, in what field? It's not a criticism, it's a question. It's something to be considered. And we're really just trying to get you to focus in on an area in order to be successful in your search.
No, and I love that. I think the key note is that a VP of operations in one of those roles is not qualified to be the VP of operations in the other roles.
Very correct.
Right?
Yes.
In either of the other roles, like wildly
Yes.
underqualified or unqualified.
Unqualified.
So the key is what I will tell people is focus on what you want to do.
Yeah.
Focus on the path, whatever path you want to choose based on your information interviews. And then your industry and your network and mentors will decide what level you come in on. And that is just your starting point. And that's the other thing, like I started off, I did 1 year at ProSphere, and then took a big leap forward because I gained more relevant experience to be a senior manager at Ernst & Young in the Big Four.
Right.
And so, every stop is a new starting point. So I think that's fantastic. I love that you factored it. I also am not happy with LinkedIn. LinkedIn, stop trying to convince Tara to leave. Like, no more ads. Get no more ads. I'm going to have some conversations with the LinkedIn team based on this.
I will say what was also interesting is that all of these jobs were formatted differently. And some of them, it was actually kind of hard to find where the qualifications were. So I would say if you're a job seeker, you really should be taking your time and reading these descriptions. And if you are writing these job descriptions, I would suggest using best practices, but not for me to decide.
There you go. So we've got a couple other topics out there for you all before we get to the jobs. I've got a few listed here. One is something I think is very important for our community, and that is volunteer versus work. And what I mean by that is that in the military, you get paid your paycheck, whatever, and you volunteer to do extra, like you help those people or you help that organization or you do this. But when you get out to the private sector, you have to start to create boundaries between what is actual volunteer work. Like, I volunteer to coach my son's 5th grade rec team. It is something that gives me a lot of joy. It's only a couple hours a week, and I get to work with a bunch of little young men and help them grow as a team and enjoy a sport that I love. But I have people that volunteer for nonprofits and have email addresses from the nonprofit, or that are working 20, 30, 40 hours a week for nonprofits as volunteers. And I will challenge you and say that is not volunteering anymore. That is unpaid labor. And so what I tell a lot of people is, if you are supporting nonprofits, charities, whatever, I'm not telling you not to do that. I just think you need to set boundaries as to how much time you're going to volunteer. And if at some point it starts to become work where they're expecting you at meetings, they give you email addresses, you're traveling for things for them or whatever, then you deserve to be compensated. And what I'll typically tell people is, before you have the compensation question, get smart. You can Google their Form 990, which most nonprofits will post online. It will talk to you about how much money went in, how much money went out, and how much is in the bank accounts. It will even tell you what the people are getting paid by salaries, the highest, but just be smart and understand that nonprofits are getting smart and they're not paying their people as salaries, except for 1 or 2. Go down to the management expenses or the accounting expenses, and you'll see they're paying their CFO $200,000. They're paying their CEO $400,000, right? You can see all that. And so get smart on the Form 990. And if it's becoming work and not volunteer, or volunteer work, then go to them and ask to be compensated from a place of intelligence. It doesn't have to be a lot. and it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, but I found people will take free all day long, but quite often they're also willing to pay you a little bit, if that's what you ask for, and if you're worth it. And I'll tell you, just a little bit of money, could help make your life a little more comfortable and make you enjoy it even more. So, any thoughts on that, Tara?
Yeah, I do a lot of volunteer work,
Mhm.
but there are ways in which I'm compensated that's not always monetary. So I think that's something to think about as well. When I have to travel to a board meeting, that is paid for by the association. So as long as it's not costing me anything, but maybe my time. Yeah, I think boundaries are also important. I think especially if you are connected to the mission of the nonprofit, that should be
Yep.
important. I think there's also a bigger conversation here just about burnout, right? And saying yes to something means you're saying no to something else. So make sure that it is feeling fulfilling. And if it
Mhm.
starts to feel overwhelming or like work, then maybe having that compensation discussion,
Yep.
or scaling back, saying like, this actually is beyond the capacity that I can volunteer my time for free if compensation is not on the table.
Yep.
Because you're right, not every organization is going to recognize how hard it is to be a volunteer.
Yep. And somebody commented on the post. There are nonprofits that make close to 20 million a year
Mhm.
that still have full-time volunteer employees. They're like full-time, and I think you got to be think about it, and also consider, does that help you build the career portfolio you need? So
Sure.
there's a lot of factors in it. I just want people
Yeah.
to make educated decisions and
Yeah.
ask to be compensated when right. And that goes into my next part, which was about like public speaking. Like, I used to do a lot of public speaking for free. And it was building up my portfolio, so now I get paid for it. But what I've learned is that 99% of the time when they want me to speak, and I'm like, if I would just say sure, I'll do it, they're not going to pay me. But I've say, like, do you have a budget? Then we usually get to a number.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy at that point. And so that's the other piece. If you're going to do work, always ask to be compensated. Just some LinkedIn tips, since I did a post today for my good friend and mentor, Dan Savage. He built this tool, Proximo. I posted about it this morning. It basically helps with the career coaching from an AI standpoint. It helps, takes all the information in, interprets it, and walks you through the process of what you want to do next. But it made me think about some LinkedIn things. And Dan was the head of veterans programs for LinkedIn when I was transitioning out of the Army. So for him to take me to be my mentor was huge. And it's kind of what set me on this path. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was the 40% success rate. And what I mean by this is, historically, what I've learned is, if you reach out to 10 people on LinkedIn and ask to connect and maybe get a call, about 4 will say yes. And to me, if just one says yes, that could be a life-changing call.
Sure.
And so for those in the transition, get your free LinkedIn Premium, and then just go ahead and send 10 requests out a day until you have too many calls booked up. And then you can pause for a little bit. But you are limited by the amount of work you put into it. So you can just reach out to people on LinkedIn. And if you don't know how, you can always take my Mastering LinkedIn webinar. I do a monthly with the USO. Just Google USO MVP to attend. The other thing is the thank you sandwich. What I learned is that we don't say thank you enough in the military. We are accustomed to intrusive leadership, where leaders will come to you and tell you go to college, or tell you to go to the school, or tell you let's do this. And in the private sector, it doesn't happen like that. And so if someone's investing time in you, you've got to get used to saying thank you. It shouldn't be expected. And so I always tell people, you should always say thank you like 3 times more often than you feel like you need to, especially if you're transitioning military, because we're not used to saying it. We're expecting people to do things for us. We're expecting people to support us. We're expecting people to invest their time. Doesn't mean we're not thankful. It's just not traditional in the culture. And I found this out when I was getting out, when somebody like tried to mentor me that I never knew. And I asked him a couple questions. He's like, I'm not spending time on you. You never said thank you once. And I'm like, oh,
Interesting.
yeah. So, and then he blocked me, and I'm like, okay, well, now I can't say thank you, but thank you for
A point
teaching me
taken.
that.
Yeah.
Yep. And so one of the things I always tell people is to use the thank you sandwich on your messages. So you can start off with a thank you or a something nice about the person, right? Then you add what you have in common, and then you end with a small ask and a thank you, right? So you make sure you say it nice there. And I found that people that use that technique with sending messages, cold outreach, reaching out to veterans and asking for advice, find a lot more success. So that's the thank you sandwich.
I like that.
Any thoughts on that, Tara?
I know. I think that's a great tip. I also think if it's a personal connection, don't forget about a handwritten note. I think it goes a long way. I actually have. It's funny that we did not talk about this before. I actually have one sitting here for a neighbor, just like a little thank you that I'm going to put in their mailbox. It's just nice to get something in the mail that's on a bill. So, but I think it goes a long way. We also remember things when they're written in like handwritten versus typed. So just a little bit of effort, and it took me 90 seconds, right?
Yep.
So think about that too. Get a little more creative.
So when I was transitioning, I applied to ProSphere and EY. I went through the process on both. EY actually said they were going to match the offer, but it was a manager role. And so I decided to take the ProSphere job, and I hand wrote letters to the 3-part thank you notes. I went and bought a box. And 3 thank you notes to the partners that interviewed me. And I addressed to their name, to EY with the office address, attention, their names. And they all got the cards, and they all sent me email or text thank yous. Say how wonderful it was. I went back and worked there. Like one of them checked in with me like 4 months later to see how things were going. And then like 8 or 9 months after I started, I reached back out to him, and for breakfast we met. He's like, and I told him I was thinking about moving. He's like, I wanted you to come to EY a year ago. Let's get it started. So those thank you notes make a difference. Now I hear people complain about like, well, what if we don't have the address, or what if they work remote and whatever. What I will tell people then is to write it on a piece of paper, take a picture, and email to them.
Yeah.
Even that
works
makes
too.
a huge difference. So thank you notes are wonderful. I've got 2 other pieces. One is when it comes to outreach, when it comes to reaching out to people, it's about the ask. So if you ask for a job when you reach out to someone, if they answer, you may just get advice. So if you reach out to someone and say, hey, I want this job, what can you give me a referral? They're probably going to give you some advice on how to apply if they respond at all. But if you ask for advice and you get to a call, you come prepared, they answer your questions, you're engaging, you might get a job. So ask for a job, you may get advice. Ask for advice, you may get a job. And so I'm a big fan of getting to that call, not making the big ask, building the relationship, because I'll tell you, every call is ultimately an interview. And if they like you, if they feel engaging, if you show interest in them and they have a job open, they're going to say, you know what, why don't you send me your resume? I've got a role. So, and then, I mean, just the last one was the EY one I already talked about. So, just a lot of opportunities out there for people. And I just, you have to own it. You have to own your career path. You have to own the choices you make. And, I tell everyone, you have to network every day, just a little bit. Every day you can grow your network, just like every day you should be investing into your retirement fund or whatever. And it compounds. And so if you invest just a little bit to network every day, your network, your social capital bank account will be big enough that when you need something, they'll be there for you. All right, Tara.
Are you ready for the jobs?
Yeah, we're ready for some jobs.
All right. So today I'm going to be talking about some new jobs. I did talk about them a little bit last week, but I do want to remind folks that up at our website at the top of the screen, highmilitary.us, you can go to our job board and sign up for our job and skill bridge pool. So those people get the first alert when jobs are posted. So big email went out to the job pool first when these roles were posted. And I'm excited about both of these roles. These are both with our friends at EndRun. So there are 2 roles. Both of them are full-time, also with a skill bridge opportunity for the first role, which is the ecosystem engagement manager. Okay. So what is that? Remember, we're going to move beyond any job title, right? If you just see an engagement manager and you're like, well, that's not me. Well, you don't know yet because you don't know what that role does at Enrun, right? As we've discussed, a lot of different titles or the same title across different industries are going to be responsible for different things. So at Enrun, this ecosystem engagement manager, that is the name of the role when you're looking on our job board, plays a crucial role in the success of establishing relationships across stakeholders. So this is a person who is going to be able to be a really strong communicator, decision maker, someone who can listen to stakeholders, understand their needs, and then look at and evaluate what types of problems they can solve for them, right? We are looking for someone with military experience, someone who is very familiar with DOW operations. This role does require some travel, about 30%, and the role is based in Phoenix, Arizona. So additionally to some of the other things I've mentioned, they would define and design and develop new technology solutions, again, addressing internal and external stakeholders in the DOW space. They would also be planning and delivering with a team. So you have to be able to work with people as well.
I mean, to me, that sounds like a sergeant major. Like, I hate to say it.
Could be.
You know, you're used to talking to stakeholders, figuring out what their problems are and recommending solutions. And a little bit of travel, battlefield circulation.
Yeah.
Really, any kind of senior military leader that is open to learning about tech and is good at solving problems would be a great fit for this role.
You know, as you were saying that, I went to look at one of the other bullets, and it does say produce white papers, reports, and presentations as requested. So I think that's I think that's also in alignment. You would also have direct reports. You got to be able to manage activity and people. So again, I think we're all talking the same language here. So I'm really excited about this role, mostly because I think the people at the company are just fantastic. They're really interested in hiring veteran talent. And the culture just seems like fast moving, problem solving. Like at the end of the day, they are going to solve any problems or roadblocks for their clients. And just, I like that atmosphere. That's the kind of environment that I like.
And I've worked with Angela Espito for a few years. And I will tell you that there are not many people that are more knowledgeable about like the defense business development environment. And so when I think of someone that's been out or just getting out, and you get to go to an organization where not only are you going to do something you're good at and love, but you're going to learn from someone that has done it at the highest level, like won hundreds of $millions worth of contracts. And so I think of this also as a launch pad for many senior leaders to more executive roles in the defense industry, or bear with me now, starting your own defense contracting firm. If you know how to thrive and build business, you know how to deliver, and you have the relationships, then you could start your own. So I can't say enough how excited I am about these roles.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they are exciting and just slightly different than some of the more generic roles out there. No, this role is not remote. You must be able to get yourself to Phoenix, Arizona. There is a possibility that you would maybe be in office 2 to 3 days a week, but it is not
hybrid.
Remote.
Hybrid.
It can be hybrid. It can be for the right candidate. But their collaboration and their work happens in person. And remember, there is some travel, so you wouldn't always be in an office anyway. But this is not a remote position.
Before you get into the next one, can I just remind people that if you have questions, if you have any questions whatsoever about the transition, LinkedIn, starting a business, why the Eagles are going to win the NFC East again this year, just drop them in the comments and we'll tell you how bad the Cowboys suck. And then we'll get to the other questions. All right. Just let us know in the comments. All right, Tara, I know you've got one other job.
Yeah, so the other role for Enrun is the senior business analyst. So this role combines strategic analysis, project management, and being able to deliver the mission on time. So there is some type of client facing. So you need to be well-spoken, again, a good listener. This is about 20% travel. So you are doing some on-site client visits, but also someone who can look at data and tech and be like, what is working, what is not working. So you would also be responsible to drive the success of the OnRamp hub in Arizona. So develop and maintain the startup and technology pipeline within that regional ecosystem is going to be really important. Again, providing that analytical support for their clients and being able to define and monitor the scope of projects. So if this sounds like you, especially if you are into technology or tech curious, I like to use tech curious. Sometimes people hear technology and they think they have to be like a superstar. If you have some coding experience, that would be really helpful in this role. So I would say tech curious or like tech, I don't know, like startup tech experience would be helpful, or curious, I would say.
I would just say tech curious. Like if you're,
I think tech curious is the right, is the right idea here
to make jobs better. Yeah,
totally, exactly. Especially if you have some type of like technology evaluation experience, I think that could be really helpful here. So to look at all of the requirements and responsibilities, you can head over to our job board at hiremilitary.us. The best way to let us know that you're interested is to apply directly on our job board. So get your tailored resume, make sure it is tailored to the position that you are applying for, and submitting that on our job board. Yeah, excited about these roles. I also mentioned that one of them is SkillBridge. So they are direct hire roles, and we are also taking applications for the ecosystem engagement manager for SkillBridge. So that's another great opportunity. If you're like, hey, I think this is me, I think I'm almost there, and I'm getting out of active duty service in the next 6 months, there is a position for SkillBridge, and that's also on our job board, just under the SkillBridge tagline.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So, hey, those are 2 fantastic jobs or SkillBridge opportunities available right now at hiremilitary.us, right? You can just go search for that. It'll bring you to our job pool, and you can apply online. Well, Tara, we don't have any questions today. So I think we've done it. Go 2 minutes early. And so I'll let everybody know that we are here every week at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. Sorry. You can send us your questions. You can join us live and give your questions on time. And we're happy to support them. And other than that, have a great weekend, everybody. Yeah. And we will see you next week.
Bye, everyone.